was so much passion there that it was all I wanted to do when I had any time to myself. And I made sure that I had time and I sacrificed, right? And I did it even when it was hard. Like I would write or I would outline or I would read like while I'm holding a baby and nursing. My whole life was just being a mom and writing.
Stasia Gambino, welcome to Produce Your Passion.
Hi, Sam. Thanks for having me again. First time on this
on this platform, but when you were on the Sam Dever podcast, that was one for the ages. So wow, what an impact that had. So when I knew I was starting this podcast, you're one of the first people I thought of for that because you have an awesome Produce Your Passion story.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's been really great to watch you expand.
Thank you. And thank you for being a part of the expansion. And so for those that may not know you, can you tell us real quick, who are you? What do you do?
My name's Stasia Gambino. I am a screenwriter based in Los Angeles. And I'm Romani Russian. So that is what the ethnicity of gypsies are. And I write authentic stories, usually mostly about some form or facet about like ethnically Romani people. But I write a little bit of, mostly comedy and drama. And I am like really excited about, my career as a writer.
I love it. And you have quite the writing story. So that leads me to my next question. What is your Produce Your Passion story? I know you have many passions, but which one would you like to share with us? And what is that passion? And then what made you take action on it?
So I've always been a writer, but I knew a few years ago that I wanted to write in film and TV. I've, taken screenwriting classes at UCLA. I've read a bunch of books. I've completely immersed myself in all the, education and information that I needed to become a writer. And I wrote my feature-length screenplay, Rubina, which is about my birth mom. It's a surreal take on the true story of my birth mom, Rubina Zernosenko. And I wrote that right after I had my daughter, right after I gave birth. And I wrote that while in the throes of postpartum, depression and all that. And that's actually what got me out of it, I think. I'm also working on, an original pilot. I wrote a short that hopefully will be produced soon. Like, it's in development. And I don't stop writing. I just keep writing.
And I got multiple questions with that, but I want to, because I believe you're one of the first predominant writers that's been on the podcast so far. I don't care what anyone says, writing is hard. I wrote my first book, Produce Your Passion, and it's not even that long, and it is a tedious process. And even if you do find the discipline to sit down and write, then it's like, well, is it good? So what have you always been that way with writing? Is it something you're just able to pick up and jump into, or did it take time for you to develop that?
My mom figured out that I was a good writer when I was in first grade. And I know that sounds kind of stupid, but my mom figured out that I was writing all these little short stories when I was a kid, and it just came to me and I just kept doing it. I am a perfectionist, unfortunately, so like writing is hard. I agree with that. But for me, fortunately, it's just been like second nature. I've just always had it in me. I always knew this was it. This was my calling. That and like being a mom.
And I think that's interesting what you said about Rubina. So Rubina actually, like when you wrote this thing, your intention was really like almost like a form of therapy for you in a way.
Yeah, definitely. It was cathartic to write, and it filled up a bunch of holes in my heart that I had from my adoption and my story. we don't have to get too much into it, but like as you know, the story is it's pretty heartbreaking if I say so myself. Like I am Romani, my mom is Romani. In Russia, they don't get treated well, so I was actually she was tricked. She was told that I had died at birth when she was planning on keeping me with my dad, I think. I'm not entirely sure about that storyline, but she was told that I had died, and then I was actually sold to an orphanage. And then I was ultimately adopted by Americans, thank God. But, I feel very conflicted about all that. And having my own child brought up all of the trauma that I had from my orphanage. And even though it was pre-verbal trauma, it was definitely still trauma. So, it was really hard for me to reconcile. So while caring for my newborn, I started writing. And I always knew I wanted to tell the story about my birth mom, but I knew that it had to be a film around the time that I gave birth. So that's when I started writing it as a screenplay.
I love that because I think a lot of people, maybe especially in Hollywood in particular, I want to come up with something to get rich and I want to be famous. Whereas like with this, there's such a purity. It's like, no, this was a real story that you had to get this out. Like you had
Yeah,
to do this.
very deep seated, very, it was compiled straight from my soul basically. But yeah, no, I mean, of course it would be great to make some money off of it, like anything would be. I would love to be able to do all the things in life that, require copious amounts of money, but it was something that I had to do to exist and to survive early postpartum motherhood.
I love that. And I know we've talked about this before on the other program, but if you could maybe tell us a little bit, because you did a table read for Rubina.
Yeah,
Can
and you were there for
Yes,
that.
yes,
And you
thank you
you
for
played
thank you for
Alexander. You were the
casting.
best Alexander, of
I really
course.
appreciated that, but I was so impressed just the organization and just how you set it all up. Can you talk about that feeling when you're seeing a vision that's been inside your head and then you put it on a paper, but now you're actually seeing other people read it?
It's nerve wracking. It's surreal, and it's um, nerve wracking to say. Like mostly, it really was because, of course, I have a lot of confidence in it. My husband has a lot of confidence in it. Like people who are close to me, my mom, my adoptive mom, my mom who read it and helped me edit it and whatnot. Like everybody in my family loved it, but it was like, okay, does this pass the test of, people outside of my, immediate friends and family? So to have people, like working actors and people who are creatives, other writers, creators adjacent, like you guys also really liked it too. So that was incredible. I was not expecting that at all. And it was surreal to watch it come to life, even just at a table read.
Yeah, no, that was such a fun night. And I think this is a perfect segue because, as you know, producing your passion isn't easy. Even when you really enjoy it and you're feeling called to do it, it still can be a very tough road. So, can you talk about any obstacles you went through while writing Rubina, or even any obstacles you're dealing with right now in the process with Rubina? And then how did you overcome obstacles, and how are you overcoming them now?
So while I was writing Rubina, the only obstacle I really had was just managing my time. So I'm for lack of better words, a stay-at-home mom, I guess you could say. And so when I was writing Rubina, I was just taking care of a newborn, right? And then she got a little bit older and things get harder as they get older. It's not just the newborn stage that's difficult. So it was really time management, and it was like, okay, she's sleeping. Now I have a moment to write. Or like, oh, I'm just gonna hold her and type with one hand. But now that it's finished, the difficult part has been getting it out there. And honestly, I'm like pretty proud of myself. I think I've done like a pretty good job getting it out there. I've talked about it publicly at length, but I've also everybody that I know, that like my friends know, that anybody close to me knows, like, I've sent Rubina to them. And, like, it's, put my ego aside, like, tail between the legs, like, hey, can you please read my screenplay, please? Like, it doesn't exactly feel great. I'm not somebody who likes to ask for help. But I know that to get Rubina out there, I have to reach out to people and ask.
You hit on two really key things. First off, can we go back to that time management thing?
Yeah.
What more specifically, what are some ways that you really organized yourself or disciplined yourself to get that going?
Well, like I said earlier, I fully immersed myself in the information aspect of writing, right? Because it's not just, you can't just sit down and start writing. Even if you're a good writer, like, you need to know the technical aspects of how to write a screenplay, right? Like the structure and all that. But then you need to know how to format a story, how story works. Then you need to know about film, how film works, how a movie is shot, how screenplays are written for the screen. And so that it actually was like a few months of just doing straight research. And I started that research while I was pregnant. So I actually had all the time in the world to just, like, uncomfortably lay in bed while reading and just, like, soaking as much data as I could up into my head.
So you really did your research.
Right. And so once you're, like, really strong in that aspect, then you can go in and start outlining. Okay. And so I also took a screenwriting class at UCLA, and that I loved that class. I loved my professor. I loved my classmates, and that helped. It was a TV writing class, but that stuff is, it carries into feature writing as well, short writing, all that. But I learned I already knew how to structure and write, but, like, taking that class kind of just, like, let me, like, hone my skills in more. But then you can get to outlining and, what they call beating it out. Like, you make a beat board and you have the beats for each scene, and, like, the scenes that, become a sequence when you have a bunch of scenes together. And then the sequence becomes, like, a whole act, and, like, what the point of the act is. And so I have just, like, it looks like a map, basically, like my beat board. It's just so many different pieces of information, character goals, what my goals are, like the motivations, backstories, character synopses, like what the point of the scene is and all of that. And so I would also write letters to my characters when I was stuck on a scene. Like, how do I move forward? Please help me out, Rubina or Alexander or Carter or Tallulah. Like, help me out. How do I do this? And then I would sleep on it and it would come to me. So there's a lot of different stuff. And as far as time management goes, which is the question you asked me, there's so much passion there that it was all I wanted to do when I had any time to myself. And I made sure that I had time, and I sacrificed, right? And I did it even when it was hard. Like, I would write, or I would outline, or I would read, like, while I'm holding a baby and nursing. Like, my whole life was just being a mom and writing.
I love that. I love that. I love how you say, when it is your passion, you prioritize, right? No matter how much you got going on, you're going to figure out a way to do it. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on that you talked about, because I talk about this too, is swallowing your pride, which can be really hard to do. But I really appreciate you sharing, like, hey, I don't want to bug this person, but I like, there's a saying, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, like, getting past that uncomfortability of really, like, asking people something?
So my husband used to work with this director, and I met her, and I like her a lot. I really look up to her, and she said, something to the effect of, like, you never know unless you ask. basically. She said it way better than that, way more eloquently, and it, stayed in my head. But it was basically like, you got a 50-50 shot. They're either going to say yes or no. Like, just ask. You can't get anything. You can't receive anything unless you ask for it. And then it reminds me of, what does it say in the Bible? Something like, ask and you shall receive, or like open the doors and the doors will open, something like that. Like, it reminds me of that as well. But you just gotta do it. And I've done, I've like left my comfort zone, and I've asked, and I've actually like gotten a lot done in that area, with the help of other people. So like my passion is like actually being produced, like not produced in that like Rubina got greenlit, not yet. It will be one day, but not now. But I mean that like I've had like big producers like read Rubina, like I have a great director that I look up to and, really like a lot. Like they're reading Rubina and they're interested in it. And so, a streaming service is also looking at Rubina right now. So like we being me, I've done a lot in that area as far as getting Rubina out there, because it's not just, I swallow my pride because it's not just me. It's like I'm doing it to tell my birth mom story, because she was like, this is about the commodification of children. This is about like racism in Russia and Europe and like the United States as well. This is about how she was treated and or the injustices that she experienced and that I experienced by extension. So I'm doing this for her because, she does not have a voice. And I live in LA and I have access. So I do have a voice. So I should be out there doing that for her. It's kind of like I kind of owe her.
Yeah, it's interesting because, a lot of times people say, well, passion will lead to your purpose. But I feel with your case, it's almost not that it's the opposite, but the purpose is so strong that it's turned into this passion as well, which is even more powerful in my opinion. Like when you have passion and purpose together, it's like, get out of the way. Get out of the way. Rubina's coming.
Yeah. I'm like really looking forward to that happening. And I think it will. I think we're definitely like in the process of it starting to like move into development.
So that's a perfect transition. I was going to ask you, so where are you at now with it? And what are the biggest challenges now that is it just to keep moving forward? Because we know the film industry, it's not an overnight thing. Like decisions
Right.
take a lot of time. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Where I'm at, so waiting to hear back from fellowships. So that's one route that I went down, like submitting Rubina and then submitting to different fellowships for filmmaking and writing and whatnot. Waiting to hear back from people, right? Like that takes forever. You know what I mean? Like you give somebody your script and they're gonna take like 2 or 3 months to read it. I am in the process of like trying to get an agent. So I've actually made some headway with that since the last time we spoke. I have a couple leads, so I'm good with that, or I'm gonna be good with that, hopefully. And I'm, I mean, it's a waiting game, really. Like it's just waiting and then not losing steam, right? It's like keeping that passion of Rubina alive, and that has transferred into other endeavors that I have come across and am now going down those paths. So I was just hired to write on a docuseries about Romani people in the Holocaust. And I can't talk too much about that, but at the helm of that ship is a well-known Romani activist, and the project is being funded by I always forget what it's called. It's the European Roma Institute of Art and Culture, I believe. I'm pretty sure they're the ones who are funding this project. Not mistaken.
So by you producing your passion with Rubina, it's really opened up a lot of doors, even outside of
It
Rubina.
had. Yeah. Yeah. It's opened doors for me to be able to like get my foot in the door as far as like a screenwriter.
I love that.
So I'm working on my first like real credits for a streaming service. So that's cool. Because that can get me I believe an associate membership for the Writers Guild, which is something that I've always wanted to be in and need to be in, of course. Like you have to be in the Writers Guild. So I'm like getting closer to that. So that's good.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, I love hearing this all. And then the next question is, so for anyone listening or watching this that maybe they have an idea for a script or they have an idea for a movie, and could be someone that just has an idea for anything, but they're not taking action on it. What advice would you have for them?
So if you're a writer, they say write every day. Now that's not entirely feasible. Okay. Like I don't write I write in my journal every single day, which sounds contrived, but I don't write, like on any scripts that I'm working on every single day. I have to take breaks. I need to sleep on things. I ask questions and then I sleep on it and I like know that it'll just come to me and I'll have an idea, or I workshop it with my husband, or whoever I'm around who cares enough to listen about what I'm working on. Um, but my advice for somebody who has something that they want to do is literally just do it. And I know that that can be difficult, right? So, okay. This is a little bit of a, okay. When I sit down at my desk, I cannot work unless it's clean. So I have to move things around, organize my desk, and then I can sit down and write and do something. I'm not somebody who can take my laptop to a coffee bean and like work and be, hear a bunch of different noise and all that. So I have to be in the same place every single day, in my spot, in my house, at my desk. There are certain things that we need in order for those creative wheels to start turning. So figure out what it is that you need to have the best environment for writing first. Okay. So like cleaning your desk or like whatever that means in the bigger picture, just like clean your desk, like you get up, you make your bed, and then you can start your day. Like clean your desk. And other advice, aside from just, right. This comes from AA, but like, which I'm sober, by the way. So like, I just want to shout that out real quick. I love being sober. But this is from AA and I learned it. It's like, how do you eat an elephant whole? Well, you do it bite by bite, So you have to start with baby steps and you can't just do this huge project all at once. Like you need to like break it down into smaller bits and do those first.
That's amazing. I love both those things you shared. Now, follow up is, so for the people already producing their passion, but they're just getting burnt out, they feel stuck. What advice would you have for them to keep going?
Take that break. Take the break. We need breaks. I've gone like 1 or 2 weeks without writing, like because I couldn't move forward because I could not figure out what the point of a scene was and like how it was going to move my story along, and it literally took me like 2 weeks to figure it out. Take the break. I know people say write through writer's block. You can do that, but it doesn't have to be like on the project you're working on, right? So like I would say take a break on what you're working on, and then this is for writing, maybe do a writing exercise and write about something else, right? So there, like, you could literally just Google like writing prompts for writers, and it'd be like describe like your favorite memory or just something like that. Or like, let's say that you need to get something done and this character does blah, blah, blah. How would that character achieve that? And then you write about that. So take that break, try and write something else. But if you have like really bad writer's block, then go take care of yourself, like go eat a banana.
I love it.
Everybody loves potassium. We need potassium right here, okay? Potassium's like really good for you, I've heard.
Just see the writer's desk and just have a big bunch of bananas sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Always.
Well, Stasia, this has been phenomenal. You've really given us a lot of great insights and advice here. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Anything about moving forward with Rubina or anything else you have going on?
No.
All right.
I'm good.
So,
yeah, thank you.
No, thank you for coming on. So if people want to learn more about you, they want to learn more about Rubina, where are all the places people can go to get a hold of you and to look up what you're doing?
So Instagram is the best place to find me. I live on Instagram, unfortunately or fortunately, but in my bio, there's like links to, Rubina's website, the Instagram page for Rubina, the film, and some links to like where I write, like, Medium, where I write. I think I actually have the podcast, your podcast in my bio as well, the episode that I was on, if they want to, watch like an in-depth thing about, us and me.
That's really good. And what's your Instagram handle?
Great question.
Just for the people listening.
It's Stasia Gambino. It's just Stasia Gambino.
So they go there, then it's going to lead them everywhere else.
Yeah, and if you want to talk to me, like, come talk to me. I love answering messages on Instagram.
And I will say this for those watching and listening, if they're tuning in to either one of us for the first time, the episode you did on the Sam Dever podcast, not only did it perform really well, it's just really cool to see the community that you've cultivated and developed through that. Yeah. So I think it's really special what you have with Rubina. Every time I talk to you, there's new updates. So I can't wait to one day sit in the theater and watch that on the screen.
Thank you. Me too. That means a lot. Thank you so much for always helping me out with stuff.
No,
you're great.
No, you're great energy. You got a lot of ambition. You have a wonderful story, and I'm grateful to have you in my creative circle. So, Stasia, thank you so much for coming on. Hang around for just a second, but again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. To learn more, go to produceyourpassion.com.